Hey guys, it's Bear here at Morimoto, and today we're going to be installing some of our off-road 4Bangers. We're going to be doing the install on this 2014 through 2021 Tundra, on the A-pillars, and also on the fog light replacement areas. So the 4Bangers, we have two different levels. We have an entry level, which uses a Nichia chip, and we call this the NCS version. Now we have the secondary level. This is for the premium users, the off-roading, the top dog of pod lights. This application uses the OSRAM chip, and we call it the HXB or the HX Boost. So once you decide what application level you would like, you will then move on to what driving pattern you want. We have three different patterns to choose from: Spotlight, the wide, or a combo driving pattern. We have all three patterns in an amber or white. So with our wide pattern, many people are more so drawn to the wide pattern to help increase night visibility and to use it as a fog light replacement. No matter if you choose the NCS or the HX Boost pod light, you will experience the same driving beam pattern. Now with our combo beam pattern, it is a super cool spot beam with a little bit more fill. It still stacks up to the competition very well, but remember, most people will choose the white beam pattern over something like this. Now onto the spot beam pattern. Still an incredible bright beam pattern that is tight. It looks like a square that is done on purpose because we at Morimoto know a thing or two about beam patterns. All three patterns come in either a white or amber color. But one thing to note is your light output would be a little bit less with the yellow lenses. On the higher end, the HXB uses the OSRAM chip, but it doesn't come in yellow. The white light has to pass through the yellow lens and losing about 30% of its brightness. Still an incredible option. Something neat about the entry level, those Nichia chips do come in a yellow option. Having a yellow light pass through a yellow lens, it doesn't lose as much, so the light output is closely matched to that of the white counterpart. The overall footprint of the 4Banger is approximately 30% smaller than alternatives that offer comparable performance. This allows for an unbeatable 3OEM Plus-like fitment when paired with Morimoto's fog light or A-pillar mounting kits. With a standard of -3-degree aim, the beam pattern produced by the NCS wide beam model is designed to be compliant with the latest SAE F3 regulations for use as a street-legal fog light. Now the HXB wide beam has a very similar beam pattern, but too much intensity to be considered a street-legal fog light. And lastly, the Morimoto 4Bangers are backed up with a limited lifetime warranty. So enough talking about the product, let's get straight into the install. So first off, we're going to install the fog light replacements, which is very easy, very simple. As you see, we already have one already pre-installed. So first off, you're going to get the Morimoto, depending on which one you have. So you're going to be taking this small little metal piece. Go ahead and get it out of the bag for you. And this is going to go on the very bottom of the 4Banger. So first off, you're going to uninstall these two bolts. All right, so once you got those two bolts undone, you're literally going to take the metal bracket and line it up with the base of the 4Banger. Now, when you're installing this, in the kit, it actually comes with two extra longer bolts. So we're just going to put that right in there. Then we're just going to tighten those bad boys down. All right, and then you're going to take the bracketry. We have all different styles for the fog replacements from Porsche, Subaru, Ford, GM, and also Tundra. So make sure to check out our website to see if we have the model for your chassis. So you're just going to take this, make sure that this is going to be the base part of your fog bracketry. So all it's going to do is literally slide right in, just like so. And then you're going to take 3 of the bolts that came in the kit, and we're just going to put that on there loosely for now. We'll tighten that up at the very end. So now that you got the sides in, there is a slotted area. So this is basically so you can adjust the aim of your 4Banger, which is a really cool feature as well. Now that you got the 4Banger in your new bracketry, we're going to head over to the truck and show you how to install it in your Tundra. So before we get onto the install, we're going to give it a little bit more clearance so we can get to the fog light area. So we're going to turn the wheel left or right depending on what side you're doing the install on. All right, now that you got the wheel turned and you have clearance to this plastic piece, you're going to need a couple tools with this. You're going to need a 10mm socket, a 12, and then also some kind of wedge to get this plastic piece out. So first off, we're going to go ahead and remove the two 10mm bolts that are on the side. All right, now that you got those two 10 mils out, there is a little plastic piece in the very back of the cavity of the fender well, and we're just gonna take the little wedge and get that piece out. Easy as that. Okay, now that you got done with the fender well area, we're going to go up underneath, and we have the two 10s, one on the inner and one on the outer, and then two 12s. So now that you got all the bolts out and everything, this is probably one of the hardest part of the uninstall / install, is getting this plastic piece and shimming it out. So bear with us. All right, now that you got the plastic piece out, we're gonna reach in and uninstall the OEM fog light. All right, so first thing you're going to is take off the OEM harness off of it. And there's literally only one Phillips head in here. So it's on the very back part of this bracket. So all you have to do is unscrew it, and then we're just gonna pop this thing right out. All right, so we're just gonna remove this screw all the way, and then the OEM will just pop out just like so. So next up, we're going to put our 4Banger in here. Before we do the install, there's actually an accessory harness for this. So this basically will connect to your OEM harness, and then it'll allow you to connect your 4Banger onto the harness as well. So now we're gonna put our Morimoto 4Banger in there. It's pretty easy fit. Just gotta finesse it a little bit, and then we're just gonna put that bolt right back in. Just like so. Now that everything is installed and plugged in, we're going to go ahead and test out the 4Banger real quick, and then put the plastic piece back on, and then move over to the driver's side. All right, now that the fog lights are installed, we're gonna move up to the A-pillars. We're gonna start on the driver's side and go ahead and install the bracketry for the A-pillar 4Bangers. So first off, what we're gonna do is make sure that we do not shift this hood. Most of the time, the Tundras are pretty good, but what we're gonna do, just to be safe, we're gonna just take two pieces of the tape and put it on the outside of the OEM hood bracket. And then we're going to take a marker and mark the positioning to make sure that everything's properly aligned when we get done with the install. And of course, it ain't gonna be perfect. We're not painting a full vehicle. You just wanna make sure those lines do line up pretty good though. And of course, my line's gonna be in the center. So now we're gonna unscrew these two bolts. You don't have to take them fully out, you just have to kind of loosen them so you can slide the bracket underneath it. And then you're gonna take our Morimoto A-pillar bracket. Before you install this though, we're going to install the plastic clips. So this basically holds the Morimoto 4Banger harness in place on the A-pillar bracket. All right, so these little plastic pieces, they do go in directionally, do not get that wrong. So you literally are going to push them in, and then the clips are gonna be vertical on the outside just like so. And there's gonna be two of these, boom, and you're good to go. Once you're done with that, you're going to literally slide it in place. When you're tightening this down, the bracket will actually somewhat move out. So make sure you're holding the bracket in place and then tighten it up. So I'm gonna just tighten this down, just like so. Everything's still lined up. We're gonna remove that tape. All right, now that you got the brackets on, you're literally gonna do the exact same thing on the passenger side. Once you're done with that, we're gonna move on to the harness. I know it looks a little complicated, but I promise you it's fairly simple. So first thing with the harness, we're going to actually mount and position the relay in the engine bay. So for the Tundra, we're going to drill a very small hole right beside where the ground area is beside the battery. So let's get to doing that real quick. All right, so we're just gonna take a small little drill bit. And like I said before, we're just gonna take a little hole and drill that out. And then with the relay, very important guys, make sure that this is installed vertically and not horizontally. So where we put that hole, just gonna literally place it down in there. Now that the relay harness is mounted properly, we're going to go ahead and run the light 2. This is actually for the driver's side light, and light 1 will be running across the cowl and across the engine bay, and that will plug up to light 1. So with the light 2 harness, we're literally going to run it up underneath this plastic trim piece that's on the side fender of the truck, and it fits just nice. And just tuck it up underneath there. And then you're gonna have, of course, some excess. We're just gonna pull it fully through, and then once we're done, we'll pull some of the excess back into the engine bay. So we'll go ahead and just lay that right here for now. And we're going to go ahead and run the long part of the harness, which is, like I said before, we're going to run it up and through. So what we're going to do is uninstall this cowl piece so we can run it up in that little area and then run the harness up to the passenger 4Banger. All right, to remove the cowl piece, all you have to do is unscrew 5 of these little plastic pieces, and it should come loose just like so. All right, so we're gonna take the longer part of the harness and do the same exact thing. We're gonna run it up underneath the driver fender. But instead of running it up to the driver 4Banger, we're gonna actually run this out and across the engine bay through the cowl area. Now that we got the wiring harness routed underneath the cowl and the cowl reinstalled, we're gonna take the light 2 wiring harness that goes to the passenger side and route it up to the passenger and get the 4Banger installed and going. So what you might have to do is pull on the harness to get a little bit more excess. And then once you have some excess, you're gonna just run it up on the side area of the passenger fender. And then we're gonna go ahead and get the 4Banger installed and then connected. Now we're going to actually mount up the 4Banger. This product is freaking awesome. We're gonna be doing the amber light for our A-pillar bracket. So it's already installed on our U bracket. This is what comes with the actual 4Banger Morimoto universal pod. So it's very simple. It's just a bolt, and of course on the bottom it has a slotted area so you can adjust and put it to whatever position you're wanting. And you also can decide on how you want it angled on the vehicle. So great universal aesthetic to it. So there's a washer and then a nut. So you're just going to literally put that on there, and then we're gonna just tighten this bad boy down. All right, now that you got both 4Bangers on, passenger and driver, you're literally going to take the harness that's on the 4Banger and you're going to insert those into those plastic clips that I showed you earlier. All right, now that harness is connected onto the bracket, you're going to literally just plug in the wiring harness to the other part of the connector. All right, now that you got the harness fully plugged in on the driver's side, you're going to head over to the passenger side and do the exact same thing. And then towards the end, of course, we'll literally button all of the harness up and get it all zip tied down and looking nice. But once you're finished with that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the rest of the harness and continue on with the power and ground and getting that connected. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take off the bolt on the ground terminal. On this truck, it's just a 12. And then we're going to slide the ground on just like so. And then tighten it right back down. Alrighty, and we're gonna do the exact same thing on the positive side. And a cool thing about our battery on the power side is we actually have a fuse area built in to help not pop any of our relays. All right, now that we got the positive and ground hooked up to the battery, we're going to move on to the Morimoto switch. A really cool feature about this harness is that you can actually disconnect it from the main harness, so it's easier to run it through the firewall. So if you do decide to drill into the firewall, Morimoto was very thoughtful and actually put a grommet on the harness to help prevent water intrusion inside the cab. And we're going to cut a very small sliver in the grommet piece and then run the switch through it. So we'll see you guys on the inside and get this finished up for y'all. All right, now that we got the harness ran through the firewall, we're going to connect it to the Morimoto switch. All you have to do is line up the 3 teeth that are in here to the male side, just like so, and then you're just going to screw that bad boy and tighten it fully down. And once you got that connected, your next step is to decide on where you're wanting to put the switch. You could either do it beside the steering wheel, you could do it in the center console, depending on what your preference is, but you do have a decent amount of lead for that, which we thought of here at Morimoto for you guys. So once you get that, you're going to take a 3/4 inch step bit and you're going to drill a hole so the actual switch will fit in there. And also, one thing to take in consideration when installing your switch, make sure that there's nothing behind to actually snag when you're drilling or anything metal as well to shorten it out. Alrighty guys, well that is a wrap for the Morimoto 4Banger A-pillar and fog light installations for this Tundra. If you want a little bit more information about your Tundra, make sure to go check out our website and put in your year, make, and model and see what all of the products we have in stock for you. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.